Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine O'Donnell. I'm the coordinator of graduate recruitment and communications with the Graduate School. We are so excited to share this event with all of you and appreciate you spending your evening with us at the 3 Minute Thesis. I am the mistress of ceremonies tonight. I'll be here to keep things light, hopefully, and keep things moving along as we learn from our graduate student scholars. You'll be amazed at how much you can learn in 3 minutes. Seriously. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Angela Kanda, who will provide a more formal welcome. Dr. Angela Kanda stepped into the role of the Dean in January. Before joining the Graduate School this semester, Dr. Kanda was a faculty member in the Department of Psychology, where she held several leadership positions. Most recently, she served as the department chair for 3 years, following 6 years as the director of the university's honors program. As a scholar, Dr. Kanda specializes in cognitive psychology with a particular focus on memory and language processes. Her dedication to research is evident in her role as chair and founding member of the Ohio Undergraduate Psychology Research Consortium Advisory Board. While this is her first time attending the 3 Minute Thesis competition, she is eager to celebrate the research excellence of John Carroll University's graduate students. We are grateful for her enthusiasm and leadership Dr. Kanda brings to her new role and her commitment to fostering research at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kanda.
Thank you for the very warm welcome. I'm thrilled to be here, although it's a very cold evening. I think it's a great night that we're all gathered to support the original work that our John Carroll graduate students are doing. And we're going to get to learn tonight from scholars from a variety of our master's programs that reside in the departments of biology, communication, counseling, and education. This competition really is about celebrating the masterful research and the presentations that our students have put together. It supports academic communication skills, intellectual dialogue, and understanding by everyone in this audience, regardless of their expertise areas. We're already so proud of every one of our presenters, and we want to celebrate them making it to this point and to let you know that the winner of tonight's competition will be able to represent John Carroll University at the regional level at the annual meeting of the Midwestern Association of Graduate Schools that is in April this year in Indianapolis. So good luck to all of our presenters, and everyone, I hope we enjoy the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanda. To provide an overview of the 3 Minute Thesis, often referred to as 3MT, it is an exercise that provides students with the opportunity to present a compelling oration on their original scholarship and its significance within 3 minutes or less. 3MT challenges students to consolidate their ideas and research discoveries so they can be presented concisely to a non-specialist audience, that is all of us, and without notes. So I have the easy job here. I get to look at a list of things that I need to cover. Our presenters are going to be very skilled at giving you the information about their thesis. A few housekeeping items though first. This event is being recorded to share with the broader graduate school community. We have a videographer and a photographer in the room, as I'm sure you've noticed. To not be a distraction to our presenters, please take this time right now to silence your phone or other electronic devices. I'll give you a moment. We also ask that you refrain from walking, talking, and taking pictures of our presenters while they are speaking. We will make our pictures available widely, so if that's something that you would like, and I'm sure you will, we'll make sure you have access to those. Of course, you can applaud when each presenter is done, and I know that you guys have all had the opportunity to use the cool clappers. thought it'd add a little bit of lightness and fun to the event, which, while graduate research is so important, it is fun to add a little bit of fun too, or important to add a little bit of fun. Just so you know, there will be a Q&A session later while the judges deliberate. Tonight, as you may have noticed, we have some refreshments to be enjoyed following the 3-minute thesis presentations and the award ceremony. So we have to wait till the end, which is good. We appreciate your patience in waiting to dive in. And we will make an announcement, just so you know. All right. Judging our competition, we have an esteemed panel of judges from across the university. Our judges include Dr. Bonnie Gunzenhauser, Vice President for Academic Affairs. Dr. Walter Simmons, Associate Dean of the Bowler College of Business, Academic Affairs. Dr. Meredith Steck, Assistant Director of the Writing Center. Andy Bober, Assistant Registrar for Graduate Studies. And Rachel Ricuccio, current graduate student and 2024 3MT presenter. Our judges score presenters on 4 categories: comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Points will be tallied for each presenter's total score to determine the competition winner. In addition to our competition winner, as determined by our esteemed judges, an additional winner will be decided based on the feedback from all of you, our audience. This will be our Peer Choice Award. Each of you will vote for a Peer Choice Award winner based on which presenter you think gave the most convincing 3MT presentation. I'll provide voting instructions at the end of tonight's presentations. All right, we're getting there. Now that we've gotten a good idea of our competition basics and judging, we will now begin our 3-minute thesis, essay, or creative project competition. After a preliminary round of judging earlier this month, we are pleased to have 8 impressive graduate students presenting their unique topics tonight. A powerhouse lineup of incredible women. Each will be introduced prior to their presentation, and presentations will occur in alphabetical order by last name. Presenters, your 3 minutes will begin once you start speaking. First up, we have Mary Frances Allen, a student studying clinical mental health counseling from Birmingham, Michigan. I forgot that there's a whole slide for this. Sorry, Mary Frances. From Birmingham, Michigan, presenting her thesis project titled Forming Liaisons for Justice. Mary Frances, come on up. Whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Frances Allen and I'm a second-year counseling student as well as a graduate assistant for the Center for Service Learning and Social Action here at John Carroll. I've worked in this department since fall of 2023 and have worked closely with our student liaisons. And today my research proposal for my future research project is included here on my slide, which is how can the social justice scale be utilized as a tool within the training program to enhance student liaisons' understanding of social justice and strengthen their capacity for social change. So now what is the social justice scale? It was developed in 2011 by Torrance and colleagues, and it measures actions and attitudes towards social justice. It includes key dimensions such as ability to be aware of your social privilege, social responsibility, and commitment to action. It consists of 24 statements that are all measured on a Likert scale, which the participants use after each statement. And an example of one of these statements is people around me are engaging in activities that are working towards diminishing social injustices. And each of these 24 statements are correlated to core beliefs that were developed by Torrance and his colleagues. So you see up here an example is empowerment, or access to community or societal resources. So now we'll get into a little deeper about what liaisons do at John Carroll. Liaisons connect the campus to their community. They are involved in over 92 community outreach service sites. And each of these sites, they learn more about the Cleveland community and injustices that these populations might be facing. So now we know a little about how students connect to our campus and our community. Liaisons also guide the students after their service with meaningful reflection before and after their service projects are completed each week. So now how can we use the social justice scale into our training every month with our liaisons? So each month we train our liaisons on a different topic. And I think this scale would be super beneficial to enhance the CSSA program overall. So at the first session, they can take this assessment to gauge their awareness about issues such as power, privilege, and identity in their work as student leaders. And then their past reflections and answers to this assessment will then lead how we further use them in our monthly trainings to better understand where they might need to grow in their social justice capabilities and beliefs. And lastly, at the final training of our semester, we will conduct a post-assessment. We'll analyze how the learning about the core beliefs of social justice have made them better leaders and have equipped them to better combat social justice issues throughout our John Carroll community and the Cleveland area and the world as a whole. So I'm excited to use the social justice tool to form liaisons for justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that is not easy to get things kicked off, and you did a fabulous job. Thank you so much, Mary Frances. All right, next up we have Erica Berent, a biology student from Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Erica will present her thesis project titled, "When It Comes to Defense, Tadpoles Are Just Like Their Mothers." Come to the podium, please, Erica.
Chemical defenses are widespread in the natural world and play an important role in determining how organisms respond to potential threats from predators. One group of chemically defended organisms are poison frogs, and a good example of these are strawberry poison frogs. Strawberry poison frogs display a wide variation of colors across their home range, as is shown in the map. These frogs also show a wide variation in their chemical defenses, since they obtain these defenses through a diet of chemical-containing arthropods, which varies from location to location. These chemicals are stored in glands within the skin of these frogs and can be released when the frog is threatened by a predator. Another thing strawberry poison frogs are known for are their parental care behaviors. Mothers lay eggs in breeding pools, which are guarded by fathers. Upon hatching, the mothers will carry and deposit individual tadpoles into small pools of water in the axils of plants. There, the mother will return every few days in order to provide the tadpoles with unfertilized eggs as their sole source of nutrients until the tadpoles develop into full-grown frogs. This is demonstrated in the figure beneath the map. These eggs contain a small fraction of the mother's chemical defense, which is passed on to the tadpoles and serves as a defense for these tadpoles against predators during this vulnerable life stage. Much previous research has been done on the chemical defenses and the variation between them, between adults in different locations, but not much research has been done on whether this variation is present in tadpoles. That is the question I hope to answer with my research. In order to do so, I extracted and analyzed the chemical defenses of adult female frogs and tadpoles from 5 locations across the strawberry poison frogs range. I then compared the chemical defenses between adults and tadpoles at each location and among locations. I found that, in general, tadpoles had much lower quantities of chemical defenses than adults at the same location. This is what I expected, since the glands in the skin of the tadpoles are still developing, and they receive chemicals in such small quantities. I also found that in locations where adults had higher quantities of defensive chemicals, tadpoles also had higher quantities of defensive chemicals. This is shown in the bar graph, and the same is true for chemical richness, which is the amount of different chemical types found in each tadpole and frog. Finally, I found that adults and tadpoles at each location tended to share chemical types. That is to say that the most commonly found chemical in each location for each adult frog is often the most commonly found chemical in the tadpoles as well. This just goes to show how important these eggs are that are provided by their mothers, because without them, these tadpoles would likely have little to no defense against predators. It is my hope that this research helps us to better understand how these organisms respond to their environment and gain a better understanding for how organisms interact with each other in this ever-changing world.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Erica. While the judges continue to deliberate, I do want to give a little shout out to our graduate student associations. We'll get to Brittany in just a minute. If graduate students in the room, and especially our panelists, we want to encourage you to be members or choose to opt in as a member of our graduate student association. Our graduate student association meets on Thursdays from 1 to 2. The next meeting is February 27th, so there's an opportunity to join in and learn more about what our graduate students are doing on campus. It's a great group to be involved in. They're going to the Art Museum, in fact, on Saturday, February 22nd. You guys are all invited. Okay, next up, we have Brittany Bosowski, a Master of Education student specializing in mathematics education grades 7 through 12 from San Pedro, California. Brittany will present her essay project titled Unearthing Waste in Charity Food Systems, a data-driven evaluation of Feeding America's food bank supply chain. Welcome, Brittany. The floor is yours when you're ready.
So imagine opening a package from your local food bank and expecting to find fresh, nutritious, quality foods. Instead, you find foods that are ultra-processed or expired. Some foods you can't eat, and some don't even have expiration dates. Now imagine this is your primary food source. Our 6-week longitudinal study tracked 99 participants in a HUD-subsidized building in Cleveland, Ohio, in which we tracked what they kept or discarded and why, as the building relied heavily on food bank distributions. Our study found that over 2/3 of the food distributed was ultra-processed, and 72% of the participants were obese or morbidly obese. 60% reported that they were not able to eat the food due to cultural or medical restrictions, as well as 80% of the food that was expired had to be discarded. Generalizing nationwide, this compounds to millions of pounds of donated food meant to combat hunger are actually going to waste every year. Feeding America, the country's largest food banking network, Feeding America, the country's largest food banking network, receives $4 billion annually in donations, much of which stays within a tiered food bank system, which actually determines what quality food banks get. What does this mean? If food banks and food pantries don't have the money to pay for higher quality foods, they receive whatever is left. So better funded communities and wealthier areas get better choices, and poorer communities that serve the most vulnerable populations have the least choice, the most waste, and absolutely end up more empty-handed more often than not. When we see this happen, we identify the fact that food insecurity is not just about access, it's about quality. When this occurs, what we end up seeing is food insecurity leading into a cycle of health insecurity. When vulnerable populations are fed poor, nutritionless quality foods, we end up where communities end up with higher medical costs, hospitalizations, and prescription rates, which obviously pharmaceutical companies benefit from. They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones that benefit. Large grocery chains and food manufacturing companies also benefit from the system as they offload unsellable goods, tons and millions of pounds of unsellable goods, which then contribute to their tax write-offs for their donations. But does this make sense? As 19 of the board members and CEO from Feeding America, 12 currently hold or come from Walmart, General Mills, Morgan Stanley, John Deere, Ernst & Young. This is sadly not a conspiracy. This is an economic cycle. This is an economic cycle where we see Charity and profit intertwine, and rather than recognizing conflicts of interest, they are more than often ignored. And profit comes before charity. We are not pointing here to point fingers. We are simply asking, are we actually addressing food insecurity, or are we hiding it behind expired cans and ultra-processed foods? Because if we really want to help fight hunger, we have to first start with identifying and questioning the system designed to feed it. Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Julia Champion-Baxter. She is a clinical mental health counseling student from Cleveland, Ohio, presenting her creative project titled JCU's Learning Commons, Past, Present, and Future. Welcome to the front, Julia. Clips up here.
So as many of you know, and for those who are unaware, the Griselli Library is currently going through a complete renovation, which means many of our services have had to adapt and be flexible with these changes. One of those services is our Learning Commons. And our students in the Learning Commons have had to adapt to the changes and be malleable, not only our tutors, but our students who are receiving those services as well. And as the graduate assistant of the Learning Commons, I've seen firsthand these issues. And so my research question was sought out to see, how does this renovation impact the amount of completed services in our Learning Commons? So just a brief overview of the Learning Commons, for those who don't know, is our peer tutoring hub. So we offer drop-in tutoring over 20 different subjects areas. And our students want to meet who we're serving at where they're at. Our students want to meet students where they're at, always. So part of this historically has been, we have historically paired with wellness. So if you look at that first picture, that was our original space. We had paired up with relaxation rooms, wellness in the stacks, but since the renovation in 2023, we have had to adapt, right? We've moved locations, we've moved floors, we've moved sizes of the building. So again, I wanted to look at how does that impact our usage. So if you look at the bar graphs, the way I did this was taking data from a website called WC Online, which the Learning Commons and the Writing Center uses to kind of track appointments and also get the demographics of the students that we serve. So if you see on the graph, you can see pre-renovation to first phase of the renovation. Each of those colors represent fall semester and spring semester. So we can see there's been a slight decline in some of that data. And research in higher education shows that a consistent and reliable space is really important when it comes to student engagement with academic services. So that might explain some of that, that fall in our data. But as we look towards the future, right now we're in the second phase of our renovation, and we were hoping to be complete by fall of 2025. So if you look towards that last box, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see in that red circle is the Learning Commons, right? And we'll be nestled in with other key academic services, such as, the Writing Center, which is knownly our partner, the Master and Tony Family Student Success Commons, of course, our reference librarians, as well as tying back in that wellness with the relaxation rooms right at the bottom, if you can see there, as well as student accessibility services right downstairs. And the hope is that through these changes, not only will our data improve and our numbers will go up, but also we'll just create a centralized hub for student success at John Carroll. Thanks.
While our judges deliberate, I want to give you all a community announcement. Here at John Carroll University, this week, actually, actors from the London stage will be performing Hamlet by William Shakespeare here in Kulas Auditorium. That's over in St. Ignatius Hall on the first floor. That's February 20th, 21st, and 22nd, 7 p.m. for all performances. As $10 general admission. All John Carroll University students are free, $5 for other students. So it's a really great opportunity. These are top-notch Shakespearean actors. Highly, highly recommend it. They're fabulous. All right. That's one thing. The other thing for our graduate students in the room to note is that we do have a travel fund. It might be why some of our students are actually here to support graduate student research for going to conferences and other research opportunities, such as actual in-person research in other locations. Many of our biology students end up doing their research by using our travel funds. So just a kind of a note about that. The deadline to apply is March 31st. It's coming up. All right. As we wait for our next, for our judges to continue to deliberate, I just want to, we're like halfway through, or getting close to halfway through. Our presenters have just done a fabulous job, guys. Keep up the good work. Female power is so exciting. I love it. It's fabulous. All right, we are ready though now for Emily Davala, a digital marketing and communication strategy student from Louisville, Ohio, who will be sharing her creative project called Fundraising in College Radio. Welcome, Emily. And because you're a communications person, you know how this works. The floor is yours.
WJCU is the best college radio station in the world. And that is not my opinion. We were named the best college radio station in the world last month by the International Student Broadcasting Championship. So all these numbers up here probably look pretty random, but they all have some sort of meaning to college radio, or to WJCU. 80. In the past 3 years since I've started at WJCU, we have been nominated and won 80 total awards, nationally and internationally. And that would not be able to happen without the support from our listeners. Every year, during the second and third week of February, which happens to be now, we hold our annual Radiothon, where we ask our listeners for their support in keeping us alive. 55. Last year was our 55th anniversary. In 1969, we were founded operating at 10 watts of power, which probably, I don't know how many of you know radio, that's about this much. Now, in 2024, we are at 2,500 watts of power, and that is because of the support that we get from our listeners. 98% of our listeners have no ties to John Carroll at all. You would think that it's a lot of students or parents listening to hear their kids, but it's really just people from all over the world. This week we've been taking donations from people in the UK, South Africa, just all over the world, just because they love hearing our students in the future of broadcasting. Last year, we spent $65,000 in the year 2024 on operating and capital purchases. The university only gave us 25% of that, less than $20,000. So we had to come up with the rest of that by ourselves. We did this during our Radiothon last year, where we raised $69,800. This year, we are hoping to raise $70,000 since we were so short last year. And currently, about 20 minutes ago, we were at $43,000, and we have 5 more days to raise the next $30,000. So that's why the last number on here is so important. 216-397-4438 if you want to donate to WJCU. But the real reason that we hold our Radiothon is to remind our listeners why college radio is so important. At WJCU, you will never hear a commercial. There will always be someone live in the studio, unlike the commercial stations that you listen to every day. You might not know it, but it's all pre-recorded. Most of the time, there's never anyone actually in the studio. But here at WJCU, there's always a student in the chair or a community volunteer at all times. And you can't really get that anywhere anymore. So, 216-397-4438 or WJCU.org. Thank you.
Next up, Madelyn Laird. Madelyn Laird is an education student from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, sharing her creative project titled The Problem Solver's Toolkit, Comprehensive Problem Solving Across All Subjects. Welcome, Madelyn.
I want you all to envision your favorite children's book from your past, from your past, and then also from your past whenever you're reading this to your children. Maybe you spent your days wondering where the wild things actually went to, or just exactly how satisfying was that cookie after Mouse did all of that. Or did the giving tree ever get anything in return after giving time and time again? I want you to imagine also that what if your children's books hold so much more than just sweet nostalgia and great imagination? What if I told you that children's books actually hold the key to problem-solving strategies in more ways than you ever thought possible? Today, we are going to be reimagining exactly that. Children's books hold the key to problem-solving strategies that hold the exact key for comprehensive and interdisciplinary learning. We're going to be doing so through a specific text called Ada to a Scientist and answering these questions that you see behind me. Ada to a Scientist features a little girl named Ada who asks many, many different types of questions. She does so to spur her scientific discovery, but then also understand the world around her at large. While problem-solving strategies of asking questions is depicted in this book, it does not stop there. In fact, teachers can ask questions in math saying, what are we trying to solve here? Or are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing? What is our first step when explicitly teaching word problems? In English, or in English ELA, we are able to ask questions like, what are the characters actually feeling or experiencing in this moment? How was the conflict resolved? In social studies, teachers can ask, why do you think the English colonists enforced their rules on the Native American civilizations at this time in the way that they did? Or what do you think our community would look like without laws? After experiencing all these different problem-solving strategies of asking questions in these different ways through different subjects, it can actually be applied to classroom applications to truly put this into practice. Teachers can use anchor charts that ask, is it prime in math? Or is it an opinion or a fact in English language arts? And that can be followed by an actual explanation for the criteria of being a prime number in math or an informative fact or a biased opinion in English. Teachers can also use behavioral checklists that allow students to be introspective on their behavior. They can wonder, am I actually doing what I'm supposed to be able to be doing? Or should I have chosen a better behavioral choice? Teachers can also use posters for classroom management strategies, asking students before they turn it in, am I really done? Did I put my name on it? Did I do my best work? Did I answer all my questions accordingly? With this, it supports supplemental research that states from Campbell and Henning that interdisciplinary learning begs for problem solving to be at the center. It allows students to cross cultural and connective lines. They can build connections and they can apply learning from all different subject areas for a comprehensive interdisciplinary approach. With this, we are able to truly apply all that has been learned in the classroom out into the real world. With problem solving, it encourages and empowers students to solve problems that they face in any day and every day. And this creates a world with more solutions. Thank you.
That was really good. I have a 3-year-old, so a personal story, I guess, and I am just dying to use this in my own life because he asks so many questions, but I never think about how to apply it directly to the stories that we're reading. Like right now we're reading Jack and the Beanstalk. He wants to read it over and over and over again, and it's a lot. And I have asked him, like, what's going on with the giant? Have you ever thought about how the giant feels? Nobody ever thinks about how the giant feels in Jack and the Beanstalk. So that's my question for all of you, is to think, how does the giant feel in Jack and the Beanstalk? Fabulous framework for our teachers, so thank you so much for that, Madelyn. All right. All right, we're going to move on in just a moment. Okay. Another announcement that we do have is it is 2025. The graduate school, in its newest form, was started again in 2020. So this year we are celebrating our 5th year anniversary. We're very excited about it. We have some very interesting and exciting things coming down the pike, specifically in April. During Graduate Student Appreciation Week. So we hope that you guys keep an eye out for that. Individuals in our graduate student community, we also hope that you keep your ear to the ground on what's coming. It's going to be good. Can't give all the details away now. That's just not good marketing. All right, next up, Victoria Shea-Martens, a clinical mental health counseling student from Cleveland, Ohio, sharing her creative project titled The Need for Grief Concentration in the Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program at John Carroll University. Please come to the podium, Victoria.
The floor is yours when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Victoria Shea-Martens, and I'm going to be talking to you about the reason why I feel John Carroll should offer a grief concentration within the clinical mental health counseling program. Death is inevitable, and everyone in this room has or will experience the death of a loved one, friend, or colleague. Despite our best efforts to be prepared for the vast emotions that come with a death, both professional and personal experience has shown that neither families or oftentimes the professionals are ready to handle these emotions. As you can see on the graph, 91% of licensed practicing counselors have admitted that grief counseling training is important and should be required. However, 55% have said that they have never taken a course specifically in grief training, and 73% have stated that, 73% have stated that they have completed grief counseling training postgraduate in professional development. These statistics are concerning because it shows that there is a clear gap in the education and real-world experience. Here at John Carroll, this could be done as an interdisciplinary or a cross-disciplinary program with other programs where death is likely to be involved, such as nursing, psychology, sociology, or religious-related studies. In addition, by offering this concentration, students already in the program who attend practicums and internships with partnerships such as Cornerstone of Hope and Kelly's Grief Center would be better prepared for these situations rather than being thrown into the deep end as they currently are. In conclusion, by John Carroll's ability to recognize this problem and create the training that would help these professionals, they would be able to bridge the gap in the education that we are clearly seeing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victoria. I think hopefully this is a good segue to share that the mission of our University Counseling Center, and we have a number of clinical mental health counseling students here with us today, and they're related but not the same, but the mission of the University Counseling Center is to foster growth of students within the context of the whole person, enhancing their emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and social development in order to facilitate the achievement of their academic and personal goals. We do have on-campus counseling, and most importantly for our graduate students, we have evening hours, this is new, at the Counseling Center. That's right. Thank you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. By appointment only. So just a nice little plug for our University Counseling Center. We really do appreciate your research, Victoria. Thank you. All right. Last but not least is our final presenter, Kasey Watterson, a biology student from Hanover, Indiana, sharing research from her thesis titled Biofluorescence in Male Red-Backed Salamanders. Kasey, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Oh God, there's so many of you. Okay, I wasn't thinking about that. All right. Communication throughout the animal kingdom and even for humans is vital to our survival. And this can be used through like audible or visual cues. But what if you're an animal that can't actually hear? How do you communicate with each other? Well, in this specific species of amphibian or salamander, found all throughout Ohio, biofluorescence might be the key to their communication. So just a little bit of background. Biofluorescence is basically when light hits something, is absorbed, and then re-emitted out into a different color of wavelength. So as you can see here, these salamanders, we actually are shining a UV flashlight on them, and they are now glowing green. So why do they do this? We have no idea. And every single day, more and more animals are being discovered as being biofluorescent. We have no idea what this stuff is used for. So my thesis is looking at how this biofluorescence is able to help with male-male communication. So as you can see here, these are both two different males. The one on on my right is a more fluorescent male, while the one on the left is very dull. And so this comes in a wide different range. And so what my thesis is looking at is to see if males that have this brighter fluorescence with bigger glands are better able to compete in fighting competitions for like a territory. So for instance, with these guys, that would be more like a log or a rock out in the woods. And also to see if maybe this biofluorescence is an indication of how good their territory is. So maybe these more fluorescent males are more fluorescent because they have better food quality, they have a larger territory and cover object, as well as having more of a temperature buffering capacity, which is basically the difference between your ambient air, so the air outside, compared to the air underneath your cover object or log for these species. And although I am really just starting data collection, there is some data showing that some of their food sources actually do drive this biofluorescence in salamanders, whether it be positive or negative, and it also varies between seasons. Sadly, it does not look like biofluorescence is for male-male communication, but that could also lead to questions about seeing if it has to do with male-female communication and how a male might be able to court a female by saying, hey, look at me, I'm glowy and I'm pretty. So, all right. Thank you guys for listening to my talk.
All right, as I stated, that was our final presentation, so let's give everybody a really big round of applause. Keep it going. I'm sure this is totally messing up the mic. Yeah. Our judges still need to deliberate. It will definitely not be easy for our judges because your presentations were all so fascinating, so varied. It really is a testament to graduate student research here at John Carroll. So we want to thank you all for your honesty, bravery, all of the things that it takes to come up here and to present in front of a lot of people that care about you, and we just really appreciate your time here. So I'll just give you another little hand. The judges will leave the room to deliberate, and while they're doing that, I'm going to give you the instructions for our peer choice voting. It will be taking place for the Peer Choice Award winner. Feel free to reference the displayed slide here to remind yourself of each presenter and their thesis topic. Your job as an audience, everyone here, is to choose who you think gave the most compelling argument for their project. So please use the QR code, paperless. Okay, thank you so much for casting your vote for the Peer Choice Award. The winner will be announced by Dr. Kanda and our judges along with the competition winner. But we would love to have a conversation with our presenters to learn a little bit more about the process of the 3-minute thesis, because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes as they're getting to this place of presenting for 3 minutes. So we have a couple of questions here that are on the screen. There's some other questions that I have to ask. We certainly can open it up to our audience for a Q&A as well, but we'll just start with this simple one. What lessons did you learn by participating in the 3-minute thesis competition? And did anything surprise you? And whoever wants to just kind of jump in, there's no order to this today. Not all at once.
I thought there were going to be more people that were presented today. I was a little confused when you said 8.
Well, actually, we did have a preliminary. It's a good question. We had a preliminary round, and we did actually have more individuals put their hat in the ring for the presentation, and this was kind of the right balance for the time that we had for today, and making sure that we had a good diversity to presenters as well. So, but you guys really were the cream of the crop.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else?
I can go. I learned I don't do well when I write it and then memorize it, so I should have just gone off the cuff. But that's why I did this, to challenge myself. So we learned something today.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I didn't want to like wing it and like give everybody a word salad. So, but I thought memorizing would be better. But I have to say, at least memorizing it, I got my key points across or whatever for the most part. But at the same time, I think it definitely made me more nervous, especially having the 3 minutes like only.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Very much so.
I don't know if I'm supposed to admit this, but I didn't memorize anything. I just winged that, so I'm good. I'm glad that
Two different ends of the spectrum here.
I'm glad that not writing it and memorizing it worked out, because I was afraid that if I did memorize something, then I would just forget everything. So
Yeah. If I memorize stuff, it immediately goes in one cell, out the other brain.
me too.
And then it's just a waste of my time. So I just wing it.
Yeah.
And you know, it works. I think sometimes, maybe. So
Oh, we've already said. Oh, cool. Well, 1 minute left for peer voting. If anyone else hasn't had a chance to cast your vote, just so you know. Okay. Anything else that surprised you that you've learned?
I didn't realize how committed I was going to be to it. Like committed, like to actually presenting and like not chickening out, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You guys all did great, and you committed, and you did not chicken out. So yeah, yeah.
was chickening out an option?
Yeah. It could have
So
been.
would
Yeah,
have taken
absolutely.
it off.
Yeah, you were sick.
We got on the side of the road. It's bad.
Was it easy or challenging to summarize your topic in 3 minutes? It seems like there might be two camps here, but generally speaking, did you have a lot of revisions to go through?
I found it really easy, and I probably would have done better being able to read it right off the paper, because it was like perfectly timed.
Yes.
Yes.
But I found it easy, at least on my end.
I found it challenging finding the correct level of detail to kind of hit that 3 minute mark. Because if I was not detailed enough, then I was hitting like a minute 30 or 2 minutes, and that wasn't enough. Or if I went too detailed, then it was 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So finding that sweet spot was a challenge for sure.
I think it was definitely challenging. I could talk about radio for 14 hours, so talking for, just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know how long I went, was definitely challenging, but enjoyed it. So.
I think for me, this presentation will be a 45-minute presentation this Friday. So to narrow down 45 minutes to 3, like you said, like hitting that sweet spot was really difficult. But I also will say that it's something a lot larger. So I'm breaking down different textbooks or different children's books, and just choosing one to narrow down was easy in that regard. But 45 to 3 was a little bit challenging.
Oh, wow.
I will say. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, like, my research, there's so many components to it, and just like talking about a renovation, and like everyone wants to hear about that, and like there's so many moving parts, and so like summarizing it in 3 minutes was difficult because there's a lot that goes into it that I didn't even talk about. So yeah, it can be hard.
For a biology person, having to explain some of biofluorescence, I didn't even know what that was until maybe a couple weeks into my working on my thesis. And so sometimes it's really hard for biology students to be able to dumb down the hard definition kind of stuff, because I'm guessing none of you knew what biofluorescence was. Or maybe you did. I don't know.
Glowy.
But glowy. There we go. I'll say that on my presentation at the end of the semester. Yeah. And so that was my struggle, was trying to make it to where all of the audience could understand that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like putting it in layman's terms without overindulging.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to ask about the general audience, but you've already covered it. Speaking of our general audience, does anyone in the audience have questions for our presenters?
I have a question for Erica.
Yeah.
So if I'm a tadpole and I want to defend myself by being poisonous, then my predator has to eat me in order to know that I'm poisonous. But then I'm like, what's the point of being? I mean, in terms of evolution, I can see that it better creates a memory in your predator. But then once that memory is formed, what's the incentive not to cheat? I can just be not poisonous and pretend I'm poisonous.
Yeah. I mean, so aposematism, which is what you just said, is a thing. These frogs don't do that. What works for these frogs is that the chemicals they have are bad tasting. Like, they taste bad. So the point of the chemicals is less so you eat me and you die. It's more so you eat me, you put me in your mouth, I taste bad, and you spit me out. So that's kind of the goal of the chemicals in this case.
Oh, that's super cool. I like that.
Excellent question. Yes, Dr. Cantor.
So I have a question for Julia. And I know that obviously with renovations, people coming and completing their appointments is difficult. But I was surprised by the drop from fall to spring. Pre-renovation, phase 1. Do you think that's more likely to be driven by students came their first semester and figured it out or doing awesome, or students are giving up?
Yeah.
So do you know, I mean, that I'm sure you don't know if you have data for that.
Yeah, that's a really great, second kind of data thing. But we have actually noticed that that is pretty common just throughout our our data. If we're looking at fall and spring, fall is always dominant. I feel like everybody has that drive. They're like, yes, I'm gonna go to tutoring. I'm gonna do amazing this semester. And then you come back from spring break and it's kind of or from winter break, and you're like, And so we struggle with that with spring sometimes, but it is an interesting difference. But it's a normal difference for us.
I think we had one more question in the audience, so I think we have time for that.
When you went in and started or had an idea for your thesis, as you got further into it, was it more complicated maybe than what you initially thought you were going to encounter?
Yes.
You're all thinking.
Yeah, because you want to talk about it all, but you also need to narrow it down. So finding something you're still super passionate about and can talk about within 3 minutes, I think that was key to finding what was driving me to make the general presentation. But definitely there was things along the way where I'm like, okay, maybe my next one or other ideas spurred from those. But I was like, okay, I need to stay on my one topic. So.
And when you're developing these topics, you have this general idea. I want to do this. But then you actually start looking into the literature and you see problems that past researchers have had, and you find there's 10 different ways to do what you want to do. So you have to kind of figure that out, and it definitely makes it more complicated than, at least for me, than what I originally thought it was going to be.
Or you find out there's no data at all.
Yeah,
creating the data, yeah. That's the biggest problem, yeah.
I think the blessing in disguise was having a thesis that was unintentionally impactful. That was relative. Discovering knowledge that not even that we knew as the research team, and then being able to be well, this isn't good. And at the same time, it was beneficial in letting other people know, so then that way the impact is further driven rather than just momentary.
Anyone else like to share? Okay. Well, thank you so much for presenters for sharing the insights, the background information. Now that our judges have returned, it is time for the big announcement. I'm going to turn things over to our judges. To Dr. Stack and Rachel. Come on up. This is so exciting. Okay, we're starting with the peer choice winner.
Stay up here? No, I'm good. It's just the
Awesome. So peer choice, very, very, very close vote. But the winner goes to the best rep for the best radio station in the world.
research that you've done for our university. But to announce the final winner, the winner is Kasey Watterson.
Yes, you do. That's hey, and you get to drive to Indianapolis with me. No, I'm kidding. We'll fly.
You're gonna fly?
No, we'll see.
Oh, I'm so close to Indianapolis. So did we learn nothing from last time?
I don't know.
Angie's first row.
There's a desk. I was trying to get
In here. There we go. All right. You know how to take a picture, right?
The desk is messing things up.
All right.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. And congratulations to all of our presenters. Again, you didn't have to do this, and you didn't know, even if you knew you could check it out, you didn't. Thank you for not. We appreciate all of your hard work in sharing with us. Thank you to colleagues and family and friends for coming as well. If anyone else wants to have closing remarks, please come. That's all that stands between us and a wonderful feast to wrap up our evening. But thank you all to everyone for participating tonight.